How's it going, guys? Here we are with the C2GS Season 0 Week 10 Team Builder video against GarrukApexPredator. We are currently 5-3, and he is 4-4. And this week I'm actually going against my roommate. So we're both of us, this is a very personal match between us. So we're both going to be going super all out, I think. We're both going to try really hard to win because not only is there the glory of advancing in the draft league, but then there's also we'll be able to whoever wins is gonna make fun of the other one for a long time. So, anyways, I spent a lot of time working on this team. I think it's the best that I can get it to be, but I guess we'll see. So, first off, we have Zeraora. This is extremely good offensively in this matchup. My opponent only has one ground type in Gastrodon. And if I can eliminate that, then Zeraora is completely wide open. He has very few ways to outspeed. Well, he has quite a few ways, excuse me, to outspeed us, so we do have to be wary. He has a lot of potential Scarfers. He can have a Jolly Dragon Dance Altaria. He outspeeds us at +1 if he's Jolly exactly. And he could potentially run Speed Boosting or Choice Scarf Blacephalon, among other things. 136 speed EVs with a Jolly Nature lets us outspeed the Pirouette form Meloetta, as well as an Adamant +1 Altaria, which I'm not expecting. He's probably going to run Jolly, specifically to outspeed Zeraora. Plasma Fists, if he's Dragon Dance at least. He has not run Dragon Dance every week. He's typically run defensive sets, but I think sometimes he's run Dragon Dance. Plasma Fist hits pretty much everything on his team except for Rotom, Altaria, Gastrodon, and the Among Us. It's a one-hit KO on Blacephalon and Oricorio. It's a two-hit KO on Meloetta, Berserker, and Kecleon. And worth noting is actually he could potentially have Lightning Rod Pinkerchin, um, which because he has the possibility of Lightning Rod Pinkerchin, we do have to be wary of clicking this. Is same goes for Gastrodon, but I'd rather not give the Pinkerchin a boost, right? So like hitting that would be more catastrophic. Knockoff hits Blacephalon and Meloetta very hard. We have an Assault Vest as our item, just so that we can take hits from them better if we're happen to be slower, if it's like Scarf or something. Specs Blacephalon, it does 54 to 64 to us with Flamethrower, and Specs Meloetta does 48 to 56 to us with Hyper Voice or Psychic, which isn't great, but like it's better than like 80, right? So that's why we have the Assault Vest, essentially. If it comes down to that, we have that option. Close Combat is generally good damage. It hits everything else. It does 37 to 44 against Spadef Gastrodon. Which is actually more than Grass Knot given our EV spread due to it only being 60 base power against Gastrodon. This set is pretty hard walled by the Among Us, but if we have Blaze Kick, that's not even going to be that strong against us. So at that point, we might as well just be Volt Switching out anyway. So I'm not worried about having coverage for the Among Us if we're just going to Volt out anyway. And yeah, that's basically the point of Volt Switch is if we're in like an unfavorable matchup, maybe it's like a high health Rotom or like a bulky Among Us or something like that, we can just Volt out and go into something more preferable. We just do have to be wary of the Gastrodon and Pinkerchin. That's the big issue. Next up is Falcon. This is going to be our main Rotom switch-in. Rotom is super good against the team, like the ones that I brought, except for like Falcon and Scarlet Witch. Not much in my draft can handle it like super well, at least not as well as my Roserade was able to handle Wash Rotom in an earlier week. So I can't shut it down as hard this week as I did last week. I think Noivern is the closest I can get though. Overheat does 19 to 23 to us, and Discharge does 21 to 25 because of our special defense EVs. Even if it's a nasty plot set, it's not that bad because I can roost it off. Discharge Para is if Discharge paralyzed us, it's still pretty annoying, but I think we still win that. Unless it's like also Pain Split or something. But yeah, we could Toxic the Rotom so that we can limit its turns. The only way that it can recover is Pain Split. And if we suspect it's gonna Pain Split, there's always our Roserade has Substitute on it, which is we'll get into that later, but that's our only real way of blocking Pain Split besides switching in on something with low health. We have Infiltrator so that we can ignore its own substitute if it has one. Super Fang is a solid safe move. It's 90% accurate, but it'll half the health of any Pokemon that isn't a Ghost type. It's pretty useful for weakening Rotom. Before this was actually Boom Burst, but which does like about a third maybe to max HP Rotom, so I decided that Super Fang was better. It can be useful against the Among Us or the Altaria, and then we have Draco Meteor as like a nuke option when we get something low. It does 34 to 40 to the Among Us, it does 35 to 41 to specially defensive Rotom, and it does 67 to 79 to Blacephalon, which is worth noting. And our max speed EVs lets us barely outspeed timid Blacephalon. Next up is Slowbro. Slowbro and Roserade, I actually spent a long time trying to optimize them, so hopefully they're good. I think they're good. Maybe there's something obvious I'm missing, but and for the time being, I think that these are really good optimized spreads. So this is going to be our switch into physically offensive Kecleon. He's brought Kecleon every week, usually as a surprise offensive set. Right now, Kecleon is currently tied for 4th place on the MVP race with 11 kills. Earlier in the season, it was actually number 1. He wants Kecleon to rise on the MVP race, so he's been using like pretty aggressively, like offensively. As an example, against Scion, who is the Sand team, he led with Choice Band Kecleon and immediately O-code Gigalith turn 1 with Low Kick. So just to get an idea of how he likes to use his Kecleon, right? And we're gonna try to use that to our advantage. I'm expecting a banded Kecleon this week just for its offensive prowess. Well, prowess is a bit of a strong word. It's 90 attack, but like it still can hit pretty hard if we're not ready for it, especially with Protean. But I wouldn't even be that surprised by Specs, to be honest, because of my team composition specifically. Specs Grassknot is a 25% chance to OHKO this Slowbro from full health. Our defensive investment lets us live 2 choice-banded Thunder Punches. If he paralyzes us with them, it's a bit of a problem, but in the normal case, we win. Our 84 speed EVs lets us outspeed a 0-speed Kecleon, just in case he decides to run that. Scald is pretty much our best move. It's a 1-hit KO on Blacephalon, it's a 2-hit KO on Heat Rotom, and it's pretty good damage on most other things. Burn Chance is less valuable this week than it is in other weeks, just because he has so much as far as like special offense goes, but it's still nice to have for the chip damage. Future Sight is a very strong move, and we can force switches with it. We could play Slowbro a little bit slower this week. He doesn't have like super uber physical threats that like necessitate us immediately mega evolving. So we can abuse Regenerator a little bit more and try to set up some Future Sight traps. He's pretty lacking in terms of psychic resists. All he has in that department are Aria Form Meloetta, Berserker, and a Dark-type Kecleon. Maybe if it's used Knockoff or Sucker Punch or something like that. Toxic hits Gastrodon and Altaria, and also Kecleon, kind of, and it just puts them on timers, basically. Dragonance Altaria can be threatening, but Slowbro walls it. A +1 Adamant Return does 38 to 45, and then we could Toxic it or Future Sight. It could have Refresh or Heal Bell, but I'm kind of banking on it not, to be honest. But I still think that like with Future Sight pressure, we could still pull through. Our special defense lets us live 2 timid Hyper Voices from Altaria, so it's less than what a Slack Off will give us. We also mostly wall Berserker. +2 Seed Bomb is a 31% chance to OHKO. Before, this was a lot more physically bulky, so that we would completely wall physical Kecleon and Swords Dance Berserker. But the ability for Altaria to go full special has sort of necessitated me investing a bit into the special bulk, so we've had to sacrifice a little bit. Next up is Roserade. This is my easiest by far switch into the Among Us. We're immune to Spore and Toxic because of our typing, and we get a substitute up pretty much for free. Our investment lets a substitute survive an uninvested Sludge Bomb from the Among Us. Because we're a max special defense EVs, Sludge Bomb does 78 damage to us on a max roll. So we made our HP be 4 times 79 so that our sub lives, +1 so that we can get 1 more sub out. Because the sub always rounds down, so we'll always be left with 1 HP. Once our sub is set up, we can growth. And the reason why we have growth is a +1 extra sensory deals 59 to 69 to the standard OU Among Us set. And if it's fully specially defensive, it does 45 to 53, which, you know, it's a good amount of damage, but we can also buff it even more by growthing multiple times. And between extra sensory and Super Fang and Future Sight, that's going to be our main way of handling the Among Us. Our 12 speed EVs ensures that we're always faster than a jolly Berserker. Giga Drain does 44 to 52 to it, and we recover about 20 to 23, which is good enough for another substitute with the Black Sludge recovery. Plus 1 Giga Drain also one-shots any non-assault vested Gastrodon, and is also a lot of recovery for us. This week, again, we have Natural Cure instead of the Technician Hidden Power, because we could potentially get Scald burned by Gastrodon, or maybe even Will-O-Wisp by Rotom. If it's lacking Earthquake, we switch into the Gastrodon pretty well. Earth Power does 22 to 26 to us, and it has a 25% chance to break the substitute, assuming it's uninvested. Next up is Kangaskhan coming back from the bench. This is a potential Blacephalon switch-in. Specs Flamethrower does 33 to 39 to us, and Overheat is doing 48 to 56. And if he's really, really crazy, and he has Mind Blown, Choice Specs, that does 55 to 65, but the recoil damage puts him in range of Sucker Punch. We are susceptible to Knockoff, or probably more commonly Trick. If this is Trick, we're kind of bad. If we're Tricked, it's kind of bad, excuse me. We can still hurt it, even without Assault Vest. We're just weaker defensively. This week we have Early Bird instead of Scrappy. I don't really intend to use Return that often, so it's not that big of a deal if he switches a normal type in. I get Sucker Punch immediately the next turn anyways, assuming that they're going to attack us. And the main reason for Early Bird is if he happens to be carrying Hypnosis, or potentially we get Spored by the Among Us, I want to have defensive measures against it so we can wake up faster. And there's just no real need for Inner Focus this week, I don't think. Maybe something has Zen Head, but I don't know. But it's too niche for me to want to worry about. Return is a decent stab move. It does 33 to 39 to max HP Rotom and specially defensive Gastrodon. It's 38 to 45 to potential Meloetta, but staying in against it is risky because Specs Focus Blast does 35 to 41, which is more than I would like to take from Meloetta. We have Scarlet Witch as a better switch into Meloetta in that case. 21 to 24, Return does 21 to 24% to a physically defensive Mega Altaria. So that's basically the worst case for us. Sucker Punch is going to be our main way of punishing the Blacephalon. If we don't think he'll switch out, or if he's Whirlpooled, because we are carrying Whirlpool on this set to potentially trap something, we can Sucker Punch if we know that he's going to attack. But if we're not sure if he'll attack or not, because maybe he's not choice locked or anything, we can opt to go for the Earthquake instead. Sucker Punch does 64 to 77 to Blacephalon, and Earthquake has a 56% chance to KO Blacephalon from full health. This is also a good move against Berserker, and again, we have 12 speed EVs to hit the same exact benchmark as Roserade, because they're both 90 speed, so I decided to reach the same benchmark of 219 speed to make sure that we're outspeeding the Berserker. Last but not least is Scarlet Witch. This is a more general use special tank. This is good for Special Altaria, Meloetta, Special Kecleon, and Gastrodon. Lacking Toxic. Timid Mega Altaria Hyper Voice does 21 to 25 to us. Specs Meloetta Hyper Voice does 29 to 35 to us. Specs Kecleon Thunderbolt does 19 to 23. Spadef Gastrodon Sludge Bomb does 16 to 19. And Specs Blacephalon Flamethrower does 33 to 39. Moonblast is going to be its main stab move. It hits Altaria, it hits the Dark type Kecleon. Energy Ball hits Gastrodon. It does about half to specially defensive sets. Hidden Power Rock is actually our best damage against Blacephalon. It does 42 to 50, which is okay, but it's not stellar. And Draining Kiss is a weaker Moonblast, but it offers us a small heal, and it helps with sustainability. And then we have 92 speed EVs to hit the same benchmark as Slowbro, right here. We both hit 117 speed, just to outspeed a 0 speed Kecleon. So yeah, that's the team. I'm kind of nervous for this one. I really, really want to win this one. It really hurts my playoff chances if I don't win this. This is the second to last week, so I'm really starting to plan out potential playoff routes. If I lose this match, I kind of have to hope that Turbo loses and that I beat Cole in my Week 11 match. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's about it. See you guys.